Well, we're in the Church of St John the Evangelist up in Norwood. I'm talking to Rachel Podger, who has been here recording Vivaldi's L'Estro al Monaco for Channel Classics. So a good place to start when thinking about the work is perhaps a quote from the scholar Michael Talbot, who describes it as perhaps the most influential piece of instrumental music of the 18th century. What's your take on that?
Well, I kind of agree. And I read that and I thought, oh my goodness, is that true? And then I do agree, because I think it did take everyone by storm and by surprise when it was published, 1711, wasn't it? And what he'd done, his Opus 1 is trio sonatas, and then you have Opus 2, violin sonatas, beautiful pieces. And then he branches out, and of course there were concertos were in the making, and it was a style that was kind of being developed and experimented with, you know, with Torelli and Vivaldi himself, of course. But you never had a set, as far as I know, you'd actually never had a set of 12 concertos, 4 for solo violin, 4 for 2 violins, and then 4 for 4 violins. It's unheard of. I mean, Corelli, of course, had been experimenting with the concerto idea in his Concerti Grossi. But there's it's this really kind of advanced way of changing the texture, bringing out the different soloists in all sorts of different ways, surprising ways, really unexpected ways. Often you have a 7-part texture, which is very rich and gorgeous, so exciting to listen to. The sonority is amazing, because you have 2 separate viola parts in some of the concertos. So you get, in some of the Ritornelli, you get the most beautiful, rich colouring going on.
I mean, really quite a statement for him. He wasn't very old, in his early 30s, and it was early in his career, and here he is putting that. It was quite a showcase for him. Is that part of the point of it, to say, look, this is what I can do?
And I think he really dines out on the rhetorical devices that you use, you know, repetition, surprise, that it's just constantly happening. But when you say it like that, you kind of think, well, of course, that's obvious, that's always what happens in music, but somehow he uses it in a way that you really get taken in, and you think, oh, he's going to do that again. Oh, no, he didn't.
Yes, so huge fun to play, I'd imagine.
Really, really fun to play. It's very vibrant stuff, and it works brilliantly with audiences.
And who did he write them for? Because he had them widely published, so he must have been hoping his audience was wide for the score itself.
Absolutely. Well, I think he was looking at the models. I mean, you have the 4 violin concerti, and that's a Roman model. And then you have the double concerto, the kind of Venetian thing. And then you have the solo concerto, which, as I said, aren't particularly substantial, so they're quite concise. In the 4 violin concertos, he does experiment a lot. I mean, there's one that sounds very much like Corelli. It seems like a kind of homage to Corelli. There's number 7 in F. And it has a lovely minuet at the end, like Corelli often does, with an echo and then big cadence. And Andante to start with a very kind of block-like figures, and then little solo passages in between. And then you have a kind of 6-bar adagio with a chromatic ground bass, walking bass like Corelli often does. And then you have a really fast exploding movement. And then you have another little link. Okay, that you are invited to improvise in, and with lots of cadences, and then you have this minuet at the end. And that's very much like Corelli, so he's kind of following that vein. Yeah. And then, in contrast to that, the first concerto is just seems to want to explore. It's just exploring D major. Okay, let's do this figure. Oh, I'm going to do that as well. And now we're going to do a ritornella, and then he changes his phrase lengths just from bar, you know, from phrase to phrase, and very unexpected and very involving. You can't help but become passionate about it.
Well, let's talk about the group. Breckenbrock brought together for your festival in Brecon.
Yes.
And clearly now extending to touring and recording.
Yes, yeah, it's been going for a while. Yeah, exactly. We got together. I set it up after years of thinking about, oh, wouldn't it be nice one day to have my own group, after having led for lots of other directors, enjoyed very, very much. And then, you know, you develop certain ideas about things and also through teaching. And so I had this idea of getting some of my ex-students together and also old friends. And so I just invited them, and everyone seemed quite game. And we thought, oh, this could be the birth of something. Yes. And it seemed to gel very well. You know, I suppose when you have been very close in interpretation and in you know, doing teaching as well, there's a common language. Even if you have the hierarchy of teacher, pupil, that changes, of course, when you're then in an environment where you're actually making chamber music. And it changed. So now they're colleagues, and it's lovely. It's really wonderful.
They're slightly still scared of
oh, I'm sure they're
wanting to put forward there.
Really scared of me, trying to get it right all the time. No, I hope that's not the case.
Yeah. And will you be continuing to explore more Vivaldi works together as a group?
Definitely, yes. I really want to do all of it.
There we are.
So we've got quite a few more opus to cover.
Yes.
There's the seasons in there, of course. Yes, and then there's all the other violin concertos. Yes. Opus 11, 12. And then all the ones that haven't been dug up yet.
Yes. And during the process of recording these concertos, is there, can you identify anything that's made you think differently about them, or perhaps that you've discovered within the scores, or things that you've having explored them so forensically, thought, actually, we're going to do it like this, that define for you what this journey has been about?
Well, that does happen. I'm happy to say that that does happen a lot, and I would be rather dismayed if it didn't happen, because of course making music and creating something in the moment, that is also meant to last, of course. When you're making a recording, you have to have that in mind too, is very much part of your creating anything, really, your kind of daily bread, really. You don't want to ever be in a situation, personally, I don't want to be in a situation where I think, this is how it goes, this is static, I'm going to do it like this, yeah? Of course, there is a sense of planning that you have to have, but you need to be able to freshly create it in that moment, on every take, so that every take could be the one that whoever is going to be listening to, and that's going to be it, and that is going to tell the story. So each time you have to recreate. That's why recording it's exhausting, but it's extremely fun. Your adrenaline is right up there. In a concert, you have that. But then it's gone. Yes. And you can't really catch on to it. You can't hold it, can you? And people experience it in different ways.
And tell me about the acoustic and the environment that we're recording in here.
It's a great place. It's quite a large church, actually. A bit of a hidden treasure in South London. Don't tell anyone. And it's not too expensive. But it's actually falling down, so they do need a bit of support. Advert there. But no, it has a lovely resonance, and it has a lovely space around the sound, around the notes, and especially at ends of phrases. So it's very, very easy to play in the space. So it's ideal for our size group.
Yes, apart from I hear the lawnmowers.
Oh gosh, yes, we had a bit of a lawnmower situation today. And Jonathan Freeman Atwood, he has many hidden talents, as we know, but one of them is to put people straight. Going outside and saying, do you realise what's going on in the church? And apparently the lawnmower guy on his big machine, industrial kind of thing, he said, oh, every time I come in there's always a recording. So he wasn't particularly pleased. But
not in the job description of Principal of the Royal Academy, producer and trumpeter normally, but here we are.
I know, yes. Many strings to his bow.
Wonderful. Super. Well, that was fascinating.
Thank you. Thanks very much.